even though if you don't talk, you won't pop up. All right, we are ready to begin. So the Nile River and the origins of Egypt. This corresponds with your chapter 5.1 of your text. Let's get started. So here we have our Nile River from the satellite. We see desert, 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 and then lush, beautiful green. So we have lots of plants living there. And I don't know why this is going up or why it won't go away. It's very, very lame. I think because it sees me recording. There we go. Now, I'm never going to ask you this, but the Nile River is extremely long. You do not have to know the difference. You need to know that it is basically tied for the longest river. Some people say the Amazon is longer. Some people say the Nile is longer. It kind of depends on how you count the beginnings and everything like that, where the beginning, where the end is. So some atlases will say this one. Some atlases will say the Nile, the Amazon, which is very confusing, I know. But just know it is really, really long. Now, the thing about the Nile River is, without the Nile River, life would not exist in Egypt. It wouldn't. There's no way to sustain everything we need for it. And part of the reason why is because the Nile River floods every year. And you say, Mr. Kenny, the Tigris-Euphrates flooded all the time. What's the big deal? Well, this one was predictable, meaning they knew like clockwork when the Nile River would flood. And because they knew when the Nile River would flood, Jason would make sure not to be hanging out by the river or to be like, oh, Haley, why don't you go hang out right by the river at this time? He's not going to do that because he doesn't want Haley to get washed away. Now, maybe he'll say that to Leah, but not Haley, definitely. But they knew when it would go, so then they knew to plant their crops right afterwards. And of course, just like the other rivers we talked about, when those rivers flooded, they left back lots of silt. This wonderful narrow bands of beautiful black fertile soil, and which makes it so that we can have all of this green right here, because you look at the desolation on each side, how there's nothingness, just sand, and then beautiful, lush, awesome. And now the Nile River is going to give a lot of things to Egypt. It is going to go make it so people can have water for bathing. It's going to make it so that you can be clean, which of course is very nice. There's drinking water. Fish live in the Nile, so you're able to go get some delicious fish for food, which are pretty easy. The other thing too is, some of you brought up before that other animals need to drink water. So you're going to see other animals coming to the Nile River for drinks, meaning they're going to be able to go hunt other food. Of course, just like we talked with our Sumerians, they're going to be able to irrigate their crops, and it will provide transportation. So you're getting water for all of these things, and we're going to see, as we see in this picture, boats going up and down the Nile, making it so that they can trade, they can go and move things like heavy stones from quarries to create some of the amazing monuments that they will make. And finally, the Nile River provided natural defenses. And this is going to be a huge, huge, important thing that the Nile River is going to give. These defenses are going to protect Egyptians from invasion. We're going to see the Egyptians are going to be extremely lucky because they are going to wind up being able to be protected because of deserts, protected by the water, and even the Nile Delta is going to be hard for ships to get too far deep in there because of all the silt. So Egypt is going to be very protected, and it's going to be one of the reasons why it's such a long-lasting and amazing civilization. Coolio, right? Do we have any questions about this first slide about the Nile River? All right, seeing none, let's go on, move on to the next slide then. Now, let's look at the Nile Delta. The Nile Delta is going to be the most fertile area within Egypt. In fact, there's a name that some of you might have been familiar with from the book of Exodus, the land of Goshen. This is going to be where there is so much silt all piled up. I mean, we can see it from the satellite here. It's like all the silt from there piles up, piles up, piles up, piles up into this big, wonderful triangle shaped. That's why the delta, you get the Greek word delta. And you have all of this beautiful, lush awesomeness. So tons and tons of silt at the mouth of the river. And it makes it so that they are able to have the best farmland, some of the best farmland in the world, honestly. Like literally, Alex can just throw some seeds down on the ground, and Karen steps on them, and that's enough that they need to do for them just beautiful plants to grow and lots of food. Right outside of it, so the delta is called the Blacklands because the black fertile soil, the silt, and right outside of it's called the Redlands, which are going to be the deserts right by it. So we have it so that this area is protected because there's desert all around it. It's hard for an army to go and march through. Oh, I just saw that before. Yes, Gandalf was in the video because, you know, none shall pass. It's my favorite part. Cataracts. Cataracts are a fancy word for waterfalls, like we see here. So one of the things that would happen is people are going to want to try to conquer Egypt because it's so awesome. So when Cortez is on his boat going from the south trying to go attack Egypt, he's rowing his boat, and then just like in the cartoons, and all of a sudden he's like, I don't feel any water that I'm rowing against. And he looks down and he realizes he's just gone over a waterfall and goes, ah! That's what would happen to people trying to attack Egypt from the south if they went along the Nile River. So we have these waterfalls there. So the Nile is going to provide protection through all of these cataracts. So basically, Egypt is going to be able to be completely protected, have this awesome fertile land, and this is how we're able to get this amazing civilization that will bring us pyramids, mummies, the Sphinx, and so much more. Yep, so you can't sail through it. You can't really invade. Now, we will have a group of people that will invade through it, Kushites eventually. They're going to have to carry their ships around the waterfalls, though, because you can't obviously take your ship down a waterfall. And I'll show you a cool picture of a waterfall in the next slide, and then we will be done. So, yeah, hopefully Tati will bring a parachute. I don't know if that'll be enough, dude. All right, so here's a cool picture of the waterfalls. Woo, look at that. Do not want to go down that. And then here's just showing where we have some of the cataracts at, zoomed in right there. I just love stuff like that. All right, and that's going to be our notes for the day. So thank you very much, my cherubs. I appreciate your attentiveness. Are there any questions that we have? I'm going to stop recording.